Good Gabs, sponsored by Skillskin, a nonprofit organization empowering individuals with disabilities through employment. Good morning, Good Gabbers. Thanks for joining us today. We have got an amazing guest today. He's the executive director of the Hutton Settlement. It's Chud Wendle. Welcome.
Thank you, Steve. I'm honored to even be able to be here and have a conversation with you.
Well, we're happy to have you. Absolutely. Well, Chud, so our listeners that don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Well, I, as you said, executive director of the Hutton Settlement. I love it. It's a dream job. Enjoy it. How I got there is an interesting journey. I grew up in the car business. My family's still in the car business. So I learned all about cars, or should have learned all about cars.
Wendle Motors, right?
Yep, correct. And it was I had a great career in the automotive business, loved working with the family, and then transitioned about 15 years ago into real estate and did a development, Northtown Square, where the Red Lobster's on the corner.
Yep.
And I fell in love with real estate at the time, and especially commercial real estate. And so that led me into a real estate journey, a little jaunt in about 7-8 years. And that took me up to, I had some time with Kathy McMorris Rogers' office as her district director. Enjoyed the work, but...
What does a district director do?
I didn't know going in. I don't know if I would have done it no, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed my time. You're coordinating, in this case, the Congresswoman's schedule, her issues, her policies, trying to connect her with the community. So I learned more.
Okay, so when Skillskin, we have something that we want to bring to the Congresswoman because we have conversations with her. So that you would have been the person who would set that up?
Yep.
Okay, and that makes sense.
And so it'd be talking to you or Brian Beeler, and I did work with him.
Well, it's definitely through Beeler, not me.
Well, it takes the whole community to bring maybe an issue up and then turn it into policy. That I loved. I love that. I think Brian and I worked on a thing called the ABLE Act, and it came to law. And so there are a couple things that I was able on the front end to see to fruition. Enjoyed it enough to where I don't want to be in politics. So so that's why I love what I'm doing now. It's not political. So that then the Hutton Settlement reached out of the blue. I have no children's welfare background. I'm not a teacher, not a counselor. And they reached out and said, would you have any interest? And I will tell you, I did know Hutton Settlement. My mom was on the board for about 40 years.
40?
She was not on the board at the time that I accepted the position, but I was aware of it, and I knew the good work they did. And the reason they
so
reached
you're
out,
around the dinner table, and you learned and heard about this for 40 years.
It was cool. She took me to board meetings out on the campus. I didn't know what she was doing in the boardroom, but I knew I loved playing with the kids, and so whether it was we go hiking or camping. It was fun. Different type of introduction, but the real kind, because I got to see these kids. I got to be one of them. And so that was, 30 years ago, 35, 40 years ago, probably. And, but the reason they reached out to me is our funding model. So our funding model is all based off of commercial real estate. So we have a portfolio of about 22 commercial real estate properties. And so they wanted somebody that had that background, had that experience in real estate.
Makes sense.
And then a heart for the kids, and I've always had that. Got it from my mom, and one thing led to another, and here I am 7 years later, and loving it.
So tell us more about Hutton Settlement.
I'd love to. So Hutton Settlement, it was founded 104 years ago by Levi Hutton. He was a true orphan. When he was in third grade, he lost his parents and was placed with his aunt and uncle. His aunt and uncle took his education option away from him and said, you're going to work the farm.
Oh, wow.
And so he worked the farm, and from our understanding at a very young age, he thought there's got to be a better way for kids like him. No choice of his own. He is left with, a bad hand. And from that point, we think a seed was planted in his head that there's got to be a better way. Well, through hard work and led through a career for him into the railroads. He was an engineer, took him up to Wallace, Idaho area, where he met his wife, and he put everything he made with Northern Pacific Railroad into a mine called the Hercules Mine.
Okay.
Sort of the joke of the Silver Valley, but he, along with the Paulson family, the Day family, they invested in it. He actually worked the mine when he'd get off the rail. And what happened, like it was about 7-8 years after they invested in it, they struck it rich in a big way. Like in today's money dollars, it was about $1 million per month.
Wow.
For 25 years. So net present value, think about that. What can that do to him? And so here comes that seed that he had, and it got to a point where, you know what, I want to build a home, not an institution. I want to build a home for kids like me that didn't have that option, didn't have the opportunities, given a bad hand just like he did. And so in 1919, he came out of the ground with the Hutton Settlement Children's Home, and it was a true orphanage at the time. The kids they served at that time, about 80 in numbers, lost parents, whether it was war, disease, and just loss of life. They did not have kids. We
were just coming out of World War I at that point.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep. Yeah. So it was a big time. Spanish flu, we just went through the pandemic, and back then there were a lot of lives lost. But so that was 1919, and what he did, which was brilliant, and in today's world, you think this kind of vision, where is it? We need more of this. But he wanted to create a mission of providing hope, opportunity, and life to kids like him. In today's world, it might look more like abused, abandoned, neglected type kids that maybe have their parents alive, but are, for whatever reason, aren't able to care for their kids. So here's an option. But back then, he wanted to create, he casted that vision, but he wanted to create a funding model that would outlast that vision, which is reverse. Usually you create a vision, right, and then you try to figure out the funding. Well, he wanted to make sure the funding outlasted it. So,
well, that's why it's so, powerful, right? It's endowed.
It's endowed, and it's endowed
Truly.
in a big way. And it really is unique because it's not necessarily a financial endowment where you're right in the markets. You're truly involved in the community as we manage these 22 properties, diverse properties, where the rent goes right back in. And what it's done, I think one of the biggest things it's done is it's allowed us to stay true to the mission that he set 104 years ago. We haven't taken government funding from day one. And so we're not in a position where we're necessarily having to maybe change our mission a little bit to adjust to what the government wants.
Sure.
We're able to stay true to Levi's original mission. And I think that's one of our key successes that we've had. And it's allowed us to really serve those kids.
Okay, so having, that kind of portfolio of commercial real estate, then you have an opportunity to, you're in the markets, but you get to choose who you rent to too, right? So there's the opportunity to connect in the community in that deeper way as well.
It is.
They get to understand who the Hutton Settlement is.
It is cool because when you go up and negotiations aren't fun.
Naturally.
And you sit there.
I love them though. It's my dirty secret.
I come from the car business, so I might like them too.
All right.
And in the car business, you start at MSRP. That's the high price. That's us. We're going to sit there and try to get manufacturer the sticker price. And the customer comes in and wants to pay, something much less than that. And somehow you're going to try to find the middle. Well, same thing happens in real estate. You start high dollar per square foot, and that tenant wants to come in and pay less. And so in this case, we'll sit there
with all the improvements,
the tenant improvements, and it. And in our case, when you start saying, where your rent's going to go, your rents are going to put food on the tables of these kids that we're serving, clothing on their back, and sustain the 104-year legacy that Levi created. And I'm not 9 times out of 10, they're let me sign right there. And
I can see why. It's like they're giving in a different way.
And
right? You're not asking them for donations. You just say, hey, fair price for the building that you're going to be in, and this is where the dollars go. I love that.
It is. So it makes it easy. My job's easy. I mean, all I got to say is, this is where I work, this is where your rent's going, and sign me up. So our properties range in. We have a retail center on Division and Wellesley, Office Depot, Natural Grocers, Shred are located there, Nom Nom gas station. We have office buildings, and those are fun. We have an office building where we really serve tenants that are in our world, like they're therapists, counselors, focus on family type. And it's fun because then all of a sudden you see the synergies there between what they do and what we do, even though they're not connected directly to our mission. We have a lot of industrial properties, good diverse set of properties in the Spokane market.
Yeah, that's just so fun to be able to do that. And then it goes right to the mission. So now, we're 100 plus years later. How many kids are at the settlement now?
So when we opened the doors up, I mentioned 80 kids. We have 4 cottages. It doesn't do justice for these buildings. They're actually mansions. And we have 4 of them. And in today's world, one of the other things, we're licensed with the state of Washington, and they require the kids to have their own room. So back in the day, if you were in a living situation where you could have a sleeping porch, you'd have 10 kids in there. We can't do that anymore.
So the regulations kind of changed how it needs to look.
Exactly. So every child has got their own room. Capacity right now is 40. We're around 30 right now. One of the things that we do, though, is it's not a short-term placement. If a child's going to be placed with us, it's minimum of a school year. So we'll aim for a school year. But typically, they're going to graduate high school with us. They all go through West Valley School District. So last year, for example, we had 5 kids graduate. We had one girl.
What's that commitment to that part, like the long-term health of somebody?
It's transformational. Like so they come to us in a world of they don't trust the world. They're in a deep, deep, dark spot. They probably have bounced around in the foster system. They maybe have had a failed adoption. Maybe seen their parents or parent go off to jail, and so they're in a spot by no choice of their own where the world's given up on them. So they don't trust when they come through the front doors. They don't trust us.
Makes sense.
Our number one job is to start building security through attachment, and that attachment's a deep, deep work. And so the magic that happens at Hutton's, our house parents, and our house parents, I don't know if I could do it. I've tried to raise 3 boys. I don't know if I've been successful. These house parents are raising 8 to 10 kids that have had all kinds of trauma. And they're there day in and day out. They're the morning.
That's that rock.
Yep, they're the rock. And so the stability they provide is critical to the healing and finding purpose in life and being able to trust and have security.
And so, okay, that makes sense. So like why the commitment for the longer period is like trust is a function of time, right? Like it takes that time to build that and to help support that person over the long haul.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's not going to happen
Cool.
overnight. It's not going to happen in 30 days. Typically a child will come with us, like their survival behaviors just to get by. I mean, these are what they do to get by, whether it's to get attention, to survive, or, lying, cheating, fighting, swearing, bedwetting, food hoarding. And through those behaviors, our house parents, all of them, 100% know deep, deep down, there's goodness within. Yeah. Every child's got goodness and infinite value. How do we take that? Where do we get that? And it's not going to be 1 night, 2 nights. It takes time. And so typically it's about a year's worth of working through to where all of a sudden you'll start seeing them come out and they start trusting. They start finding joy in life, which is and I'll talk a little bit about that, and purpose. I mean, everything's about purpose. And if they don't know where they belong in life, how do you find purpose? And so it's
and those are big questions too,
big
right?
Questions.
We're all trying to find purpose.
Every child that comes through the door, it's a question Steve might ask you, or 2 of them will ask, what brings you joy? What truly brings you joy? And these kids can't answer it. They haven't experienced it. And the other question is, where do you belong? Where do you belong? Well, they have a generation in front of them that didn't show them how to belong.
Right.
Or they've been in a foster system where belonging was impossible because they're bouncing around. And so those are questions they don't know. They don't even know how to answer.
But by the time they exit the program, they should, right?
They should.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty cool. I share a story.
Please.
Okay.
We want to know, right, good
okay.
gabbers?
So I might tear up on this one because it's one that hits home for me. This kid was placed to us in middle school, failed adoption out of Ethiopia, adopted to parents that from Kentucky, affluent and white, and there just never was that sense of acceptance. And so through the grace of God and miracles, they discovered Hutton Settlement in Spokane. And this boy was placed with us. He went through the same survival behaviors, and he was struggling. he was going down a bad path right when COVID hit. And COVID hit, and one thing it did for all of us is it paused and put us in reset and refocus. And in this case, he did. But the one thing he figured out is he had a little entrepreneurial spirit. Decided to go out on Facebook Marketplace. He's got Ethiopian roots, so there's some coffee roots there, and connections, and a passion for that. But he went out on Facebook Marketplace, buys an espresso machine, knowing that we can't go to Starbucks or Rocket, and $5,000 later, he's going, okay, I like this. What's he do with it? And that was his money because it was his machine, and a lot of that $5,000 was my one espresso at a time that I was buying from him. But he wanted to go bigger and better, and he wanted to follow what Levi did, is to create another sustainable program. And so he drafts up a business plan. He goes on the SBA website, pulls out a business plan template, and draws up a business plan to roast coffee beans. And it was for this time, he's a sophomore in high school, and was pretty extensive for him, needed some polishing up. And when we went out to Churchill's Steakhouse. He wanted to present. He really he wanted to put his best show on. And so he presents it to me, and I can't say no. There's no way. And so we said, yeah, but we got to figure the funding out.
Right.
Well, we went out.
Big questions.
We went out and got a grant from the Hagen Foundation, and it funded the whole package. The biggest part of it was a commercial roaster, a price tag of about $30,000. And so we get the
5 pound, 10 pound.
I don't know my coffee, so it's big.
I love coffee, just so you know.
You got to come out. You got to come out.
I want to try.
So we buy it from Dietrich Coffee Roasters up in Sandpoint, Idaho. They're a manufacturer, global, and we buy it from them. We get it down there. We're trying to figure it out. The owner finds out some nonprofit buys his Razoo coffee roaster, and he decides to come down and visit.
What is happening?
Where it's going. 6 months later, he's still was mentoring our kids, and he wouldn't let us release any coffee until it hit his standard.
Connected to this community, connected to Hutton Settlement.
And so we launched in 2021 and started selling coffee via subscription. We didn't. Part of Parker, is the boy, part of his plan was he didn't want to have something that was too much demand that we'd lose quality on. Like if the quantity got too high, he didn't want to lose the quality.
My kind of person. All right.
And the other piece of it that was huge, and this is a big part of what we do at Hutton, is he wanted a mentoring program. So he wanted somebody younger than him, 1 year younger that he could mentor, and then somebody 2 years younger, and then just keep that going, and which he did. So we launched successfully. We have a subscription base. It's called Hope Neighborhood Roasters. Hope stands for Hutton Opportunities for Professional Exploration, and it's taken off. Well, if you remember, I said he was going down a wrong track, which included not so good at grades and nothing to qualify to get into the University of Washington. Well, after he does this, it takes off. The Millwood community knows us well, and it's gone farther past that. But UW learns about it, and he ends up applying and getting a UW presidential scholarship, which is a full ride.
Wow.
And so now he's over there and he's sharing the word about hope to, he's in a fraternity and he's just taken off, but his life trajectory was not going that way. And his connection to the purpose, and his purpose was that entrepreneurship spirit and coffee, it changed it and it shot him up. And we'll be reading big things on next Starbucks or, whatever he's going to come up with, but that's the goal.
And helped in like Levi's mission. He's like, hey, how can I help the next generation of kids behind me? Now there's something that they're learning, like how to roast coffee. That's pretty cool.
Really cool.
And the dollars that come back from that too. It's like, it's incredible.
And they're all going back in. So that's the piece of it. They're all going right back into our programs. So pretty cool. I think one of that next level of purpose when somebody really finds it, Parker,
if you watch this, good for you, man. I cannot wait to hear what you're up to in your life.
I am so proud of the kid. He's one of my own. So that's the emotional part. I got to go over for family weekend to UW last year, and I took a couple of my boys over to visit with them, and you become part of the Hutton family, either working there or connected there, and there's just all this pride to see how happy he is and how joyful he is. But one of the things about purpose, I think when you discover it, and Parker discovered it, is that next level is how do you pass it on? And that's what he's doing through his mentorship and just his love for wanting to see more kids follow his footsteps, or at least find their connection or their spot in the world.
That's awesome. As you've, explored in your life and reflected, like, do you know your purpose, for being here?
It's weird. I think we go through phases of our purpose. The one thing that I will tell you that since I've been at Hutton is privilege is a real deal. I mean, I was the most privileged kid growing up, and I didn't know it, and I still didn't think I was privileged.
Well, because it's relative, right?
It's all relative, and I was fortunate. I was blessed, and I had a loving family, but I had all the opportunities these kids don't have. And when you see that firsthand, my 3 boys, they've got to all see, it's like, wait, hold on. What are they doing at Christmas time? Or where are they going at summer when they're coming back from college? Well, we're their family. They're going to be back here. They don't get to go home? I mean, those are the kind of questions, basic questions. And, getting a driver's license at Hutton, it's hard. I mean, we're going to support them and get them there, but it's not the same as a 16-year-old that we're going to be right there. Right. They're going to get their driving hours. We're going to get pay for it. And
because how are you going to pay for it? Where's the car? Like, yep.
So I think, back to that purpose, I think I've been different phases based on my self-awareness, and I'm in one now. It's just like, it's being able to continue to grow that hope, grow that opportunity, grow that life, just not for our Hutton kids, but the community.
I love that. Yeah, that is service. Well, what's in the future for Hutton? Well, actually, let me step back a little bit. You were talking about West Valley School District. So, I mean, all these kids are school age, so that's got to be a pretty important partnership. Like, everyone's connected that way.
Yeah.
What other kind of partnerships to the Hutton settlement? I heard from our executive producer, Dana Devine, that Walt Worthy helped, build some stuff out there too.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
A touch. Yeah. Thanks, Dana, for reminding. Yeah. I mean, it's a another fun story. Let me go to that West Valley School District piece first, though. For 104 years, they've been alongside. And when I say alongside, they are there. They know we're going to have some tough kids. They know that first year when they're going through rediscovery and finding themselves, and they are going through those tough behaviors, they know that's going to happen, but they welcome them with open arms, and they know they have the support on our side. It's going to take a team to get through that, and it's unbelievable when you have that partnership. And that one's of trust, that one's of commitment, dedication, and it's powerful. But that's a big part of our transformation process of these kids, is that educational commitment. Now onto another great partnership. So back in 2019, we celebrated our 100th year.
Okay.
Because
Big
of our
year.
Oh, a huge year. It was fun. We got to do a lot of celebrating. But one of the things we thought that we knew we needed is our cottages were original electric, original plumbing, no air conditioning, outdated bathrooms, kitchens, and we needed to do an update.
Yeah, especially with the changing regulatory environment.
And break one. So we had the bigger rooms, and we'd have one kid in a sleeping room, and that's not good for the kid or for us. In this situation, we don't fundraise because of our funding model. When you fundraise, you get to tell your story,
right?
And you get to share, and you get to brag, and you get to boast, and you try to connect with people, the awareness is a little higher. In our case, we're the best kept secret, I think, in Spokane.
Outside of Skillskin.
Outside of Skillskin. I would agree. And I've joked with Brian on that. So we've decided to launch into a capital campaign. We don't have a fundraising department. We don't have a fundraiser.
You're like, all right, we're launching. Here we go.
So one of my dear closest coworkers, Jesse Lowry, and I launched into it. And our first sit down, we called them visits, was on campus, and all we wanted to do is share the impact. A little bit of what I just shared with you on how these kids are transforming their lives. And it was to Walt and Karen Worthy. And within 24 hours, we didn't know what we were asking for. I mean, we didn't know if it was $1 or, 100. And within 24 hours after our presentation, he calls up and he says, I want to tell you, I'm in. And I'm thinking, great. He said, but I got some contingencies. One, he said, I want to do the whole thing, and it's about $4 million worth.
Whoa, you're like, what?
And I want my contractor that did the historical Davenport to do the work. Well, we're 100-year-old buildings. You think we're going to get any better than that?
Wow,
I mean, that was unreal.
What a gift.
And so $4 million later, a scope that didn't shrink, that actually grew each cottage. We had this, we had these goals, the basics we wanted to hit. He went all out. So if you go into one of them, you're going to think you're in the Davenport.
And this is the first meeting?
First one. So I'm 1 for 1. We're one. Jesse and I are 1 for 1. And I'm like, we got to end right there. I'm batting 100. It's impossible, and I'm going to take it. But
it was the right story, right person.
Oh, it's just you don't know though. And amazing heart. He and his wife did amazing things for the community, and this was another opportunity, for a little more of the Walt and Karen Worthy legacy. And he saw it, and he wanted to be part of it. So that was cool.
That's a very cool story.
So we updated all the cottages, and that rolled into some momentum where we were able to raise more money, and then updated our administration building. And then right now we're in the process of building an addition to where our business office will be in a boardroom.
So the campus grows. Everyone's going to be together.
Yep.
Amazing.
And one of the things, you asked the question about what's next. And so one of the dreams that we have on campus is we are very intentional with our 18 to 24-year-olds. So when that class of 5 graduated last year.
Is that like when we hear about like aging out of the system? Is that time frame?
Typically funding stops and they age out of the system and they're left on their own. What we've done is we've shifted, and we have a case load now that includes up to 24. So at 18 to 24 years old, we're staying in touch with them. Some of them might be living back on campus. If they stub their toe, they have an opportunity to come right back. We'll be there to help find housing, to find transportation, find employment, to be there like your family, like I was blessed to have. And I did stub my toe more than once and needed my parents. So that's a big part of it. One of the things I want to do is grow that, and we invest in commercial real estate. But I would love for Hutton to purchase an apartment building or build one and have housing that we could have, say, subsidized, based on some levels of commitment and dedication by the kids. But they're going out now trying to find places to live that you can't. I mean, it's impossible with the price of rent.
Yeah, market rate is astronomical right now.
So
especially you're just starting off.
Yeah, no, I look at it through their eyes and they think it's impossible. So then what next? Where do they go?
I kind of see this as like the helpful parent too. Like it's just, you're not saving anybody. You're just creating another opportunity. Like, are they going to, I remember my parents, my first place I ever bought, I had my down payments. I had that ready to go, but I didn't have enough money to replace the carpet and it was not great. And they just, that was their little gift to me, that help. And if, Hutton was able to make some, a little less than market rate apartments, that's that gift. I just see it. It's awesome. Thank you, parents.
Yeah,
that carpet was nice.
I know. I think my parents helped me out on things with my house. But yeah, so that'd be one, and to be able to really find stability for these kids as they go out there and expand it past the Hutton community and into the Spokane community, and partnering with foster. Foster programs that are out there, safety net and so forth, to where we can have that set up, and we're benefiting more than, just our community, but the Spokane community. And ultimately it helps with some bigger things in our society.
Absolutely. Well, I love that. So Chud, how can our listeners get involved? Are you taking on new customers for coffee? Can they go to the website? Okay.
Yep. I appreciate you asking. Yeah. That's the business side of you. HuttonSettlement.org is our website. And on there, you'll find it's the Hope Neighborhood Roasters. And there's a page on that, and you can buy one bag, you can subscribe. We'll also be at farmers markets. So we're at the Millwood Farmers Market, the Valley Farmers Market. We partner with West Valley School District. We did a West Valley blend.
Nice.
And so we do that through their DECA program and provide coffee to the teachers. So it's great opportunities. But yeah, back to our website, you'll find Hope, and would love to have you test it out and try it out. But I'm going to have you out. You need to come out.
I'm ready.
Okay,
yep. All right. Commitment right here.
So Parker's plan included taking an old fruit drying hut, because we were back in our day, we were full farm. So we had
orchards,
yep, and agriculture, livestock. But on the orchard side, we had a hut for drying the fruit. And over time, it's repurposed itself a few times. But this Parker saw it and saw something we didn't see, and he turned it into the most hippest, coolest vibe little coffee shop where they're roasting coffee. And if you like the smell of coffee, you're never going to leave there. It is cool. So you'll see the kids up there studying, and we have an espresso machine up there. It's awesome.
Well, I can't wait for my visit. Absolutely. Well, Chud, anything else you want to, leave with our listeners? We know how to get connected. We know how to get involved. We're all going to be following Hutton Settlement, seeing how we can help.
Yeah.
Anything else for us?
No, if get on that website, and if a listener has any interest, find me and my contact info. And I love giving tours. It's my favorite part. And summertime's right around the corner. The kids won't be at school, so they'll be on campus all the time. A little tougher on the house parents, but summertime's a good time for a tour.
Awesome. Chud, thank you for sharing. Yeah, we just can't wait to see how Hutton Settlement expands.
Great. Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate it.